So we thought we'd take a moment and what are some of the moments in our podcast that we consider our favorites?
One of my favorites was the heat training episode because I was living it at that exact moment. It's a lot about your mindset and how you react to heat. I think I realized that I am not a polar bear, but I am a human who can adapt.
Welcome to the Athlete's Compass podcast. Each week, renowned sports scientist and founder of Athletica AI, Dr. Paul Larson, athlete, coach, and sports scientist Mariana Rakai, and coach and cyclist Paul Worlowski discuss training, racing, and improving your health and fitness. Get ready for your journey to peak performance. Hello and welcome to the Athlete's Compass podcast, where we navigate training, fitness, and health for everyday athletes. Today, we're looking back and thinking forward as we end 2024. Paul and Mariana, we began this journey on Athlete's Compass podcast almost exactly a year ago. We've had, 53 episodes? We've grown and changed quite a bit over the years, including in sound quality, but our focus has always been the same, helping to improve the health and fitness of our everyday athletes. So we thought we'd take a moment and go back and what are some of the episodes, what are some of the moments in our podcast that we consider our favorites? What do we like the best? What do we remember the most? And for me, one of the most memorable shows was our interview with Tennille Hoogland in episode 46, when she talked about female athletes, particularly women in a stage of menopause. I work with several older women, plus my wife is in the middle of menopause. So her message really resonated with me, being able to adapt to the stressors of life, and such as training and just the things that happen in our lives, in women's lives, and how the pressures that come from the environment, women can adapt to those stressors and bounce back quickly and know how to support their bodies and their minds because of the way that they're connected. And it just was really an impactful episode that I really enjoyed a lot. What about you two? What did you like?
One of my favorites was the heat training episode because I was living it at that exact moment, and it was just so powerful to remind me that it's a lot about your mindset and how you react to heat. And I think I realized that I am not a polar bear, but I am a human who can adapt.
Uh-huh.
And the other one was our nutrition episode because, first of all, we had been kicking it down the line a little bit because our message was so, a little bit controversial that you don't need to take 120 grams an hour. And I was also had recently gone through that journey to become more fat adapted and lower carbs. So it was also very impactful for me as an athlete. And a lot of the podcast where we interviewed athletes has been so amazing. I just reflect back on, Cindy's interview and Eric's interview and Bard's, just going through all those journeys with them.
Yeah, well, my turn. So first of all, totally loved the interviews that you guys mentioned. Also, just reflecting now, we had CEO Mark Bridges just let us know. He just kind of did like an analysis and a run through to see what you, the listener, actually likes. And we found it interesting, and probably not surprising is that the things you guys liked were those episodes that had practical relevance. So whenever, and that's kind of what you were, Paul and Marianne, you were just talking about that. So, I would say all those sorts of things. But, and for me personally, it was the people that we interviewed. Mariana mentioned that, right? So Alan Egbert, Amber Sear, Eric Olson, Cindy Maloney, Bart Buczek, and others. But the message that was just so prevalent whenever we interviewed someone that was an everyday athlete is that they came from a place of lacking belief in what actually could be possible, and that through their own, experimentation, dipping their toe in the water and slowly adding on more and more belief, they achieved what initially they thought would have been the impossible. So those were just really, to me, inspiring moments. And I even whenever they would go back through and reflect on their journey, I reflected myself on my own journey of breaking a mental barrier, through by delivering a physical barrier, right? And pretty much for me, that was back when I was 19 and did my first Ironman. But it was like, I remember it was like such an emotional sort of experience. So just reliving that through all of the everyday athletes that we've interviewed was my most profound reflection when I look back through all the podcasts. And just going through this with you two has just been such a joy. So thank you both.
Thank you. And I also have to, throw it right back at you, Paul, is that, between the two of you, I have learned an incredible amount, between the nutrition and just the training information that, this is a weekly lesson for me, a teaching class, where I get to learn from coaches that have got a lot more experience. And it's been really insightful. And I appreciate, the two of you and your insights into your training and your experience. All right, so we asked Athletica users and our ambassadors to give us some goals they have for 2025. So let's listen into what they have right now.
Hi, it's Cindy here, and I just got back from a tempo run and thinking about my goals for next year. So the first one up is the Boston Marathon on April 21st. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a great experience. My goal for that race is to try and get a personal best. So for the Calgary race that I qualified to get to Boston, my time was 3:31:36. So of course my goal is to try and break 3:30, which I think is going to be a pretty big challenge. It's a big race, 30,000 competitors, so that could slow it down, as well as I think it's a little bit hillier, but I'm excited for the challenge. Next up is the Coeur d'Alene 70.3 Ironman, and I've done that race 3 times before, as well as the full. So I guess my goal for that one is to, again, just racing against myself and trying to get a personal best, whether that's in the transition, the swim, the bike, or the run, or the whole thing together. Other than that, try and have a great year, maybe enter some fun mountain bike races, but really just continue training with Athletica and having a good time. All right, thanks.
Hello, Athletic AI friends. It's Mark, SoCal1X on the platform. Just back from a run, wanting to offer up my plans for 2025. First off is to end this year on a little bit more of a restful note because I'm a bit hurty from all the racing in 2024. So I'm going to try to enter 2025 fresh, targeting my big race in early May, which is Wildflower Squared. So long course on Saturday, Ollie on Sunday. I know that's not a lot for you iron folks out there, but it'll be a lot for me. So I'm psyched for that. Heading up to that race, I'm going to focus a good bit more on swimming. It's part of what's made me hurty this year, but I'm going to figure that out maybe with a coach. Probably spend some more time in the ocean too, since it's close and it's really nice and I should be in there more, but I got to get over my fear of all the sea monsters out there. But a little more time in the pool. Also going to focus pretty heavily on my run speed. Made some great progress at the end of 2024, but I think I could do even better next year. So going to work on that. Marianne has challenged us to a sub 20 minute 5K. Maybe I'll get there, maybe I won't, but it's on the menu too. Finally going to do a lot of little races. Speaking of which, I'm about to head down to a Zwift pickup race with with fellow Athletica AI folks. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. Running a little bit late. So in a nutshell, that's my 2025. We will see you all out there. Take care. Bye.
Hi, I'm Kimber Gabrizak, and I've been with Athletica a relatively short period, about 5 months. Love it, and have seen some great results so far. And my 2025 goals are really to continue that trend, see my chart go up and to the right for personal improvement. I just finished my first Ironman a couple weeks ago, riding the high out of that. I'll probably do the same one again next year in 2025 to just see the improvement, use this year as a benchmark and see what next year brings. But also really focus on running. Running is my weakness. I used to be a sprinter, and so running long distances is very challenging for me, and seeing some improvement there is something I hope to work on. So signing up for a marathon, some trail races, and then of course, hopefully the Ironman. And I just want to see some improvement week over week, month over month, and year over year. Thanks so much, and Happy New Year, and Athletica!
Hello, hey, this is Alan Egbert, Team Athletica AI athlete. Hey, my two goals for 2025 would be the weight room program and increasing my VO2 max. If I get them two things dialed in, I think I could be very successful in all my goals that I like to compete in and do for 2025. Thank you.
All right. So we've listened to some of our users, Athletica users and ambassadors, but let's start talking about our 2025. Mariana, what are your goals for 2025? What do you want to accomplish?
Have more fun.
How is that possible?
I was going to say, you have fun all the time. You bring the fun.
Oh, thank you. No, I think I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, I want to break 20 minutes, 5K, but I also want to marathon PR. So I'm kind of on this running journey right now, trying to get faster as I age, going against the grain. And then at least one ski race, because I love skiing. So that's a excuse to get to snow for me.
Mariana, come on, let's let the cat out of the bag. You're talking about more fun. Why don't you tell the listener what's happening in 2025 with the HIIT sessions? Come on, spill.
Okay. So
talk about fun.
So I'm leading the HIIT sessions weekly. So we're also going to trial a velocity.
Nice.
So we will have a velocity Athletica club, and we'll have live sessions and recorded sessions, and all your Athletica bike sessions will be imported into velocity. So you can just log in and do your work there, or join us for Athletica workouts.
Yeah, and that's all from you, Paul. So thank you so much for putting velocity onto it.
Exactly.
So that's
awesome.
we're excited to announce that partnership. That's a new partnership with Athletica. So we're stoked about that. Yeah.
Paul, what about you? What are your goals for 2025 besides to rehab your knee?
Yeah, so for sure, rehabbing the knee, making sure that it's solid and stable for skiing, which I love doing. And then, but generally, my goal is to keep the VO2 max above the age. So my age today is 53, turning 54. Last year, my VO2 max was hovering between 52 and 54. So I'm right on the cusp. So as I turn 54 this year, or the year coming up, my goal is to just try to hold it there at 54. Maybe see if I can push it to 55. I don't know if that's possible anymore, but we're gonna try to use all the tricks in the book to try to hold it up there. So that's the goal. It might not happen, and if it doesn't, that's okay. But that's the goal.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to try that? What are your
all my tricks?
Yeah. What are some of your tricks? You can't give them all away, but
well, training volume is key. We know that. So right. So we've learned that in a lot of the podcasts, Training Science podcast and Athlete Compass podcast. we've been talking about the importance of training volume that ups your fat, right? Your fat metabolism, which supports the high intensity training, right? So you can't, and then of course, I'm hoping to join Mariana on a lot of the HIIT sessions, and those HIIT sessions on velocity will supplement the volume training. And then, in addition, the other one that both Martin and I profess a lot on the Training Science podcast is the importance of heat training, because you can just think about what the heat training kind of does. It opens up those capillaries, all the vasodilation and stuff that's occurring. It just, an extra flow through of the VO2 on the whole transport capacity. So possibly need to work on some respiratory muscle training as well. So I think, actually did a really cool podcast. If you want to geek out, listen to the podcast with Mariana's compatriot from Finland, Elias. I forget Elias's last name, but he's like a world expert in doing his PhD actually in oxygen transport. And he was kind of going through all the various different aspects of VO2. So basically, I'm going to be reviewing that podcast and then trying to do all those little things that aid the flow of O2. And why do I care about this? Well, basically I know Mariana's got her mic resting on the Outlive book from Peter Attia, and it's like VO2 Max is probably the key. If there's one thing that you want to kind of pay attention to in terms of health and longevity, VO2 Max just always keeps kind of coming back as a fundamental important aspect. So that's me, Paul.
How does strength training play into your plan in 2025?
Yeah, well, I don't want to lose my muscle mass, right? And I think, I'm reflecting, like I'm actually quite blown away, MJ, with your new PBs that you're hitting in your 30-30 VO2 max workouts. Like phenomenal. But I think a lot of that kind of comes back to some of the deadlifting that you're doing too, right? Like they're all kind of interrelated. So some of the strength training stuff will still facilitate and kind of come back to the high end power outputs. And if you can recruit more, then all of a sudden, you're opening up the doors for more VO2 to sort of flow into that. So there's no like one workout that is the only thing you should do or focus, right? You can't just focus on volume. You can't just focus on HIIT. You can't just focus on strength. You can't just focus on recovery and sleep. You got to do everything, right? So that's one of the factors that I'll be working on also, to try to keep up to you, actually, Missy, in the VO2s. Your power is getting up towards Profi's, and I won't stand for that.
Okay, the challenge is on. But I would love to talk more about strength training and how that all plays into like when we're getting older. And this applies to men too. Like you start losing muscle mass. Sorry guys, but in your 40s you better start, grabbing those weights and do some work. Because you don't want to lose that.
Totally. And I feel like it's already getting more challenging, right? To do the big weights that I used to do so easily. So hit towards 54, it's just not quite as and then of course the challenge around that is staying injury free too, right? Because as we age, there's a little bit of chronic pain that kind of sits in there, and it doesn't make us want to get in there and lift those heavy weights. And we can injure ourselves too with those heavy weights too, right? Fine line. Okay. It's not easy to do at all.
But Paul, what are your goals for next year?
I am planning on making a run at U.S. Gravel Nationals next September. I'm not planning on. I don't think I can win it, but I want to do well. I've had a challenging last couple of years with the 2 heart ablations, so I have big plans to use. Well, not plans. I'm doing it. I started, already. Using Athletica to train a lot. to race throughout the Midwest in gravel races next year in preparation for doing my best at Gravel Nationals. And I think I haven't decided completely yet, but I may as well decide right now that I'm going to do raising some money for some children's heart condition charities next year in this process of me going to races. And I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but it's called the CAMDA Foundation in Milwaukee here that does some work with kids and chronic heart conditions. And it's like, I have a very small understanding of what heart conditions look like now. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine for the kids what that's like. And so, if I can raise a few bucks for them, that would be awesome. So that's my plan. A lot of gravel racing and a lot of training, a lot of putting a lot of miles in, because my VO2 max is also, I'm at the same spot. It's dropping and all right. Anything else to add to our goals or our reflections from the past year and into 2025?
I think I speak for all of us. We want to hear more of your stories and your journeys and your questions, because if you don't send us questions, we're just going to blabber around here. So send us questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I just echo Mariana's point there. Like, you guys have been driving, you listeners have been driving the, what we cover and where we go. We hear that you want more actionable content, and we will continue to try to deliver that. Just keep that coming. Maybe I'd love to actually talk about a couple of the cool new features that we're releasing this week on Athletica, if that's okay. There's one thing that is kind of unique and novel to all platforms that are out there. I've never heard of it, but it's this, kudos to our amazing CEO, Mark Bridges, who came up with this idea. But he encouraged me to lay down an audio track for every single session on Athletica. That was a lot, just so you know. But we went through the process and just kind of tried to provide some audio to G you up, I would kind of call it, so that you know what the purpose of the session is, and so you can just kind of hear this is sort of what we'd like you to do. This is why we want you to do it, and that's there as an audio and video clip. Moving forward, at least by the time this is released, that'll be out and live and in the wilderness, so to speak. And so I'm really excited about that. And then the second one is the coach avatar. That's been in beta for a while, and we thank all the beta testers for giving us their 2 cents on that. But basically, there's more in-depth, rich content by a male or female avatar that actually sits on your Athletica calendar or across any of the given windows, right? Where it's almost like, we've got this cross sports scientist / coach that's giving you some insight into what your heart rate variability data looks like, or what your power profile looks like, or where you're sort of sitting in your week. And it's looking back and forward. It's like it's looking back at your last few sessions, and it's looking forward in terms of the future and what you're about to achieve. So again, these are features that I'm not aware exist anywhere else. We're trying to go deeper and farther than anyone else has before. And there's even more planned for 2025. But those are some ones you can experience already.
Well, that is awesome. I am excited about all the changes that have happened already in Athletica and the progress that the platform is making. I mean, I use it as my as a coach, but also as an athlete, and it's been amazing so far. So keep up the good work, Paul and Mariana. I appreciate your work. That is all for this week. Join us next week on the Athletes Compass podcast. Ask your training questions in the comments or on our social media. We appreciate it when you take a moment to give us a 5-star review. For more information or to schedule a consultation with Paul, Mariana, or myself, check the links in the show notes. For Mariana Rakai and Dr. Paul Larson, I'm Paul Worlowski, and this has been the Athletes Compass podcast. Thanks for listening.
Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays.
everyone.
Merry Christmas. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Athlete's Compass podcast, your North Star through the sometimes complicated world of training for your endurance sport. We appreciate your comments and training questions and your 5-star reviews. For a deeper dive into the science of endurance sports, listen to the Training Science podcast and check out the adaptive AI training platform Athletica.ai. Thanks for listening.